one, and that's why they've used Nulissa today, and Dignitas going to ban away Susano was their first ban. Interesting. Why Susano, do you reckon?
I know that EU doesn't really like Susano right now. They think that he provides way too much pressure early on. He's got the pullback potential, which combines with a lot of setup, and it's just really easy to get him snowballing in a lot of these like mid-jungle compositions.
Well, Savannah's going to get taken out of the table as well by Dignitas, Kabrakan, and Zeus in response from Elevate. Over to Dignitas here. Obviously, this is played on the latest patch as well, which means Ratatoska has seen a bit of a nerf here. Do we expect to still see him?
I don't think that we'll really be seeing Ratatoska, mostly because I know that Fails would, if anything, like the Susano is mostly a shot at him, and then taking away the Kabrakan and the Zeus, and the Thoth coming out immediately. I'm not really sure that Ratatoska wants to try and deal with that. And yeah, you can see Comfort Pick coming through with bots. I
was going to say, to be honest, Ratatoska's not too bad at getting to Thoth in the backline just because you've got that range with that ultimate as well to allow you to get there. But we'll see where they go with the draft now, Elevate. Hunbats and Ymir locked in. Ymir's one of those definitely EU picks. We've seen it a little bit more in North America now, but it's still very flexible.
I mean, that's not necessarily something that, you know, has to go dry run support into the dual lane. Yeah, like you're saying, I mean, there's a lot of pressure that can come out from the Ymir, whether it's solo, whether it's support, but at the same time, you also have to consider Elevate have a really heavy CC composition coming out already with the bots ultimate and the Ymir freezes and setup.
Well, Anaher and Fafnir now locked in for Dignitas as well, at a very aggressive support style for Trixtag. Kind of used to seeing that.
Yeah, that's something that he's definitely going to always want to go and run forward with. And the Anaher Fafnir is also a really high pressuring lane, so I wouldn't be surprised if we saw a little bit of jungle invades coming through.
What do we expect out of Elevate then in terms of like what they're going to do in the duo lane? Because this could be a Ymir support with how this roster's lining up here with the Hornbats and now a Hercules. Do we expect to see them go for a 2v2 lane, or maybe see the mid lane, the support start elsewhere?
I wouldn't be surprised to see a potential Hercules support pick here coming out on the side of Elevate, just to try and compensate for the pressure that they might have in that duo lane. Apollo coming through is a really smart pickup as well for Elevate, because I think that that'll be a really decent matchup for going against that Fafnir on her duo lane.
Why is Apollo so good there?
He's just got a lot of lane clear. Like between his one and then when you have the passive up from Apollo, you can go ahead and either with Hercules or Ymir, you're typically going to be able to match the lane clear. And we could see the Ratatoska actually coming out on the other side.
Oh, but a Nemesis to join that as well. That's going to be interesting. I'm expecting variety in the Ratatoska solo lane.
That's what I would have to say all the way. Probably a variety on that Rat in the solo lane. I mean, we've seen him on it before. It's something that he definitely feels comfortable on, something that he knows how to run usefully.
Yep.
And with a Nemesis, I think that it isn't a bad choice because of the fact that they're going to have the burst shred protection anyway due to her ult, and so there will be a lot of setup coming out on the side of Dignitas as well.
Well, Elevate going to look in for Nulissa, the Isis' last pick. They saved their mid lane until last as well to buy her some time to work out what she wants to play here, but she has gone back to one of her old favorites we saw in the previous leagues before, where she ran this Isis mid.
Yeah, you really can't go wrong with an Isis mid either, because I think Elevate, if I had to look at it from the early game perspective, they have a really strong early game draft. Like that is something that can definitely go toe-to-toe with any kind of jungle invade that Dignitas could try to pull out, which I think was a really smart and safe decision by Elevate, especially considering that, you know, they do have a different mid laner right now, so you want to play it as safe as possible.
Well, all this roster have kind of played together a little bit over time. It is No Numbers in the solo lane, not Morgau on the side of Elevate here as well. So we'll see how No Numbers does on this Hercules up against Variety as well. Dignitas been talked about a lot this year as the super team in Europe. You were saying it earlier on, Taco. But we've seen super teams all the time that don't really succeed to the standards everyone's expecting. Why do you think that is?
I mean, you can take 5 mechanically strong players, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to have the synergy that you'd want to, like, experience as a team altogether. You can look at the roster of SOAR North America, for instance. They have really strong mechanical players, but individually it doesn't match up, you know, as a unison. And you can see here, fight starting to break out.
A little bit risky here from No Numbers, though, because he's committed with the driving strike. The cooldown is slightly long on that ability, too, but there's no further follow-up damage available for a minion wave coming in. It's great poke early on, but No Numbers should be okay. He's going to be able to sit under his tower and use his potions.
I'm not sure that poke like that is something that he really wants to compensate for, because now he's really susceptible to those early game invades, and I think that that's immediately what they're probably going to look to do.
When you talk about early game invades, look at Elevate on the right-hand side of your map now. They've just stolen away the speed buff of Dignitas after pressuring mid lane with Fails and Nulissa there. Meanwhile, Dignitas, as you said, Taco, they will invade the blue buff, and we expect them to probably look at speed here as well.
Yeah, and you can see Fails being a little bit sneaky by himself to going ahead and taking away that blue buff, so No Numbers at least gets something out of the trade.
And hopefully No Numbers can get some wave clear advantage here with the help of Fails and go in and pick up that blue buff on the right-hand side as well, just to make sure he's got one himself. But the bad news is Dignitas are going to be back in position. Variety may get a little bit trapped in the jungle here. Fails is level 3, so as he swings in there, driving strike follow-up, great monkey jump to go back to it. Variety's going to play the safe option of go back to lane there. Doesn't want to try and take a 2v1 there.
No, 2v1, not a really smart decision. And on top of that, that was really well played by him to go ahead and make sure he landed that stun, because that could have gone a completely different direction had he not managed to get that ability off.
Well, we spoke about things over in the duo lane as well as Kivo in the mid lane looking to clear out. The Spirit Ball going to miss there. Nice little stun coming out from Zeros just to answer that back. But duo lane is going in Elevate's favor now. With this Ymir Apollo, they do have the wave clear advantage, it seems.
Yeah, and they're looking to invade for sure. You see Isis, and that should be automatic secure when you have an Isis coming through. You're going to have better push than a Thoth. And then with the Apollo Ymir, Oracle secured, it's just overall like really strong on the side of the duo lane.
Yeah, this is beautiful play from Elevate so far. If you notice, they've now stolen away the red buff on the left-hand side too. The purple buff seems to have been denied from them as well, as it's round dart as his waist. So Dignitas' whole jungle has been taken by Elevate. Meanwhile, Dignitas themselves, they've only managed to take out the right-hand side jungle of Elevate themselves.
Yeah, it's just hard, I think, for the Nemesis to try and rotate over early on. You can see Fails has a little bit more flexibility due to the fact that his mid lane has a lot of pressure, his dual lane has a lot of pressure. So even if No Numbers was to get poked out a little bit early on from the Nemesis and the Ratatasker, he still can compensate for it by just going ahead and picking up everything else on the map. And I think I would rather have the rest of the farm than just worrying about like a speed buff and a blue buff every now and then.
Well, we'll see how this works out for them, because Elevate right now, we've talked about lane dominance they have in the early game, but where does Dignitas' composition really shine here, Taco? Are they looking for mid to late maybe?
They are definitely looking for mid to late, I think, because when you have the Fafnir, like on his ultimate especially, that's going ahead and giving that overall increase to attack speed and whatnot, then you have like the Nemesis burst and shred. Yeah. That is just whoever they choose to go on at like the midpoint of the game, they are most likely going to die really, really fast. And I wouldn't be surprised if they
for Variety's dash there, and now he's going to engage onto him, forcing the ultimate very early on. Surprised, though, that we didn't actually see Fails commit with the Hunbat's ultimate there. The Fear No Evil was available. There's no beads on that Ratatoska. If he would have immediately dropped the ult after coming in, I think Variety could have been dead there.
I think he might have also been slightly concerned that Variety was going to ult instantly as soon as he saw him, so he might have hesitated for a second, realized it afterwards, and then Variety went ahead and ulted by that time.
Just those small little windows of opportunity that sometimes you don't think you've got. When you do, mid lane being pushed in once more time by Elevate. They're going to rotate around now for the Elementals. Fails is on his way, so Kivo will just head back to his speed buff for the time being. No kills early on, but I guess this is more in Dignitas' favor with their slightly later game composition with this Nemesis.
As you can see, they might be looking for something though right now.
Nice wall, nice freeze as well. Kivo going to get hit as well by the Spirit Ball, jumping on his head, trapped inside the Ymir and the Fear No Evil. Trix ended up eating some of that Fear No Evil too, and the explosion from Ymir, so he's forced to fall back on the right-hand side as well. Variety tried to make the rotation here to try and support, but already his teammates are dead. Blue buff now being invaded.
That was an excellent synchronization of their ultimates, by the way. I mean, you had Dardas that come in clutch with the wall and the freeze, cutting off Kivo's dash, and then on top of that, you just had the Humbat's ultimate to ensure that he wasn't going to escape, and then Nelisa's, if anything, to just finish it all off.
Is it doom and gloom, though, that Dardas ended up getting the kill off that one? Would you have liked to see it go elsewhere?
It would have been nice to see it go onto Nelisa, if anything, because Isis would definitely profit getting a 400 gold lead, from the first blood, and then just the experience in general. But at the same time, I think at this point in the game, they're mostly just focused on picking up a kill, if anything. That way they can ensure that they maintain the jungle pressure.
And on top of you talk about jungle pressure there, it was a speed buff attempted invade coming out from Elevate where they found that first blood. Kivo secured his own speed, but they did consume it by killing him as well. So there is still a power play on Elevate side here with the speed buff on the likes of Fails.
Yeah, you can see that they just went ahead and they opted to just go pressure, push up both of their lanes in the mid lane and in the solo lane. And I think, if anything, they're probably just going to keep looking for those little rotations, try and catch Kivo off guard. He's probably the most susceptible one, because if Dardas gets his walls on point, I mean, there's not really a whole lot of room for escape.
Not particularly, especially if you've got the likes of Variety on that Ratatoska, as well as Zeros and Kivo Fred. Don't really have abilities to get over that wall for the most part. They can dash around it, though. I'm pretty sure Toph's dash is similar to that of Agony's, where you can just, like, slide along the wall a little bit.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised to see Thoth squeaking through with some of those hitboxes, and No Numbers is looking to try and bang it out right there.
Yeah, if you can get it off the wall as well, it would have done the double tap onto Variety, at least in the comeback of it, and it could have been spelled disaster, but Variety's going to get away from it. Dodd is doing a very good job of farming right now on this Ymir, though. He did solo those elementals on his own, but he's level 8 now to the level 6 of Trixtank.
His rotations have been really on point. He's been non-stop going for the timers. As soon as it's up, he's there and available and ready to go ahead and secure that farm. And it is definitely starting to hurt Trixtank. I mean, you can tell not only is he 2 levels behind already, but that's not exactly a position you want to be in, because Dardas is going to be farming up that gold, and you can see he's probably going to be opting in for a Wing Blade early on, which will be really useful against the lineup of Dignitas.
And the surprising thing is everyone always underestimates Ymir's damage if he's even or ahead. His burst damage is fantastic. And not just that, his freeze gets a little bit longer. It's not necessarily something you'll max first because you want wave clear, but his damage gets a bit insane and you don't think about it.
Oh, no, you definitely start to realize it when the wall's been up for like 6 seconds and you're just like, what am I doing with my life right now? How do I get around this?
Well, Hammer's down for Trixtank right now, and you can see Elevate are positioning themselves around this Gold Fury for the time being, looking for a potential pick. Dardez's wall dropped perfectly to force the leap out of R-kill for the time being, but Elevate don't want to try to attempt the Gold Fury for now. It's just a positional thing, this.
They really want it, but I don't think that they want to overly commit too early on. They definitely have the burst potential. You see the Ymir ultimate, you could have the Ice's ultimate come through, even the bot's ultimate to go ahead and CC the enemy team away from it should they try and make a steal attempt. But I think that they feel like it would make them too vulnerable at this point in time, because if you burn 2-3 ultimates to try and secure an objective, a team fight's probably going to be coming out, especially from Dignitas. You can tell that they want to fight, but they know that they had to be cautious at the same time.
And even if that final judgment from Zeros in the mid lane on that top doesn't secure the Gold Fury, it will do a ton of damage to the team who are all grouped around there, and then the pursuing fight could cause some issues. Dardez still looking to pressure with a nice wall. The freeze will only hit Trixtank there. Look at R-kill. Very nice use there of the Desert Fury to immune that freeze, but that ultimate is now on cooldown.
I'm not necessarily certain that he needed to utilize his ultimate right then and there. Maybe if he had taken a little bit of poke earlier on and was like half health, sure, go ahead, pop the ultimate. But I don't think that he was really in any kind of danger. I don't think they were really looking for dive potential into that dual lane tower for the T1, especially not with, you know, thinking that Dignitas might be in the jungle, if anything, lurking around, because Elevate has been on that tower line and just hanging out there, and that's really risky. And you can see they're going for the Gold Fury right now.
They force on her back. They get the Desert Fury. They're looking for the burst. Final Judgment could be getting charged here as well by Zeros, looking for the steal. Not going to find it. The damage was okay, mainly onto Jermaine, but there's no real follow-up potential from Dignitas here, unless Dardez hangs around. Ulted by Cuvo on the rotation. In comes Fails as well with a Fear No Evil. Trixtank pushed out. Cuvo went straight to the back line. The shield's going to heal him up a little bit, but a great wall from Dardez as well. Into the ultimate goes Trix, looking for the cooldowns to get away. He's on low health, and that Spirit Ball by Noonlissa was beautiful. Cuvo Fred still alive as Fails, and No Numbers getting involved in the argument too. Variety actually got soloed by No Numbers over in the solo lane while all this was going on. 3-1. Taco, talk me through the highlights.
That is not a good circumstance in the slightest for Dignitas. Not only did they lose the Gold Fury, they also tried to take up the team fight, drop the kill onto Dardez due to excellent peel from his team coming through with the bot's ultimate and just Dard's wall cutting off Team Dignitas. Yeah. That wall was just beautiful, cutting off the likes of Zeros. There's just no way for him to really get in. And sure, Thought's like kit can penetrate through walls and everything like that, but it's not as useful when he's not there to be an actual threat into the fight. And so you have to worry about range and everything like that. But Variety falling to No Numbers in that solo lane is going to hurt Dignitas more than probably losing the Gold Fury and that fight. Because now he's going to be, they're not just losing dual lane pressure. They have solo lane pressure that they have to worry about. And you're going to have to worry about a really raid boss Herc coming through. And that is probably the last character you want to see get online early on.
And we have been seeing a lot of Breastplate of Valor into Shield of Regrowth from these Hercules as well, which means 40% CDR on a Hercules means that Mitigate Wounds is up very, very often.
And that Ratatusker isn't really going to do anything more than tickle him as soon as he gets that online either. And I mean, No Numbers is definitely going to be a potent threat as soon as these team fights start coming through. Yeah,
we're going to have to look towards Zeros there for the burst potential to try and bring down this Hercules at some point. Do we expect to see maybe a little bit anti-heal against this as well if Hercules is really going to be a threat, or would they hold off on that for now and just see how things are unfolding?
I think that it'd be a smart decision for them to go ahead, at least pick up a Brawlers on the side of either Variety at some point, maybe third item, fourth item, or onto Cuvo. He could even pick up a Brawlers as well. It's a little bit more difficult for an Honor to pick up a Brawlers because he doesn't really have much that can proc it. Yeah. It's just his ultimate or his 2, and I think it procs on his 3, but there's not much point. You don't want to. You don't want to go in with your 3.
Well, I mean, some of the players do, and when they do, they can either get quadra penta kills or the other way, a quick trip back to base as well. On the right-hand side, though, Variety has gone for the tankier Ratatosker option, which is generally what you see in the solo lane rats anyway. They've got to deal with warriors all day and junglers, pestering them, coming over to visit. So we expect to see some sort of defensive option. Do you reckon he's going to go more tanky here as well on top of this as well, be more of a front line for his team?
I think that his mindset is playing the Ratatosker, first of all. He wants to probably just try and jump onto Lisa in that backline, make her pop her ultimate early on. That way, Dignitas has a much stronger team fight if the Isis ultimate's already burned out, because it'll be a lot safer for them to engage on if they don't have to worry about a giant burst heal coming out of the Isis, and then on top of that, just the damage.
Well, let's go to the graphs here, because I can see the goal difference at the top, but I want to see the experience. 5,000 experience at 11 minutes in. How are we feeling if we're Dignitas right now? Is this a decent enough situation for them to be in with the sort of composition they've drafted?
I think with the composition that they have, it's not anything that's completely devastating just yet, but at the same time, they're probably at that mindset where they can acknowledge this is starting to go downhill and not in like our direction at all. So if they're not careful, this game could very easily snowball and run away from them, especially with the lineup that Elevate has.
So what do they need to really do to change this? Is the next gold for you that important for them mainly? Just to either win a big fight there even if they lose the gold, or getting the gold is really important for them right now?
I think a gold for you, they just can't give up gold for you for free, really.
Well, hold that. Zero's over here, going to get a good stun off onto No Numbers. Mitigate Wounds was down, but he saved his Driving Strike. There's a nice pull as well after the freeze from Dardes. The bad news is, Driving Strike was just used, so he couldn't pull him in tower range. Variety didn't like the situation enough to hang around, though. He wanted to play that very safe.
Yeah, going ahead and ulting out, but at the same time, now that the Ratatosker ultimate is down, I wouldn't be surprised to see Elevate looking for some kind of engage, whether they want to re-engage onto the soul lane and dive him, or they could just go ahead and just fight somewhere else on the map, but it looks like soul lane's going down.
Mistake from Dignitas there, giving an opportunity now for them to look to bring down this tier 1 tower, but Dardes got aggro through freezing both of them. They'll get the tier 1 tower, but Dardes is going to probably sacrifice his life here overall for this. Dardes first of all, but fails his arrive. Fear No Evil on Trix Tank, he gets one. Cuvo running away, gets hit by the Monkey Toss, jumps in from fails, straight back to Cuvo after the Monkey Toss did hit onto Variety. Not interested in that one, and Zeros could not make it there in time to make an impact. And now Elevate are looking at the speed buff as well.
It's just like one of those instances where you think that the fight's going to go in your favor. You see 2 people diving, but it just took them entirely too long to go ahead and kill Dardes. They just don't have the damage right now. Even with them diving that T1 tower, they just can't really secure the kill onto the Amir. Dardes is really tanky. He's level 12, and he's looking to go ahead and just eat up all that damage. And now it's just going to put Dignitas in a really bad spot with the Portal Demon going down. That's an additional 150 gold per player coming through on the side of Elevate. And for the team fight to go that negatively for them after a tower is also lost as well, it just opens up so much map pressure that they didn't want to make themselves susceptible to.
Now this Portal Demon as well on the right hand side, obviously it gives you a teleportation device back towards the mid lane tackle, but in the early game at this sort of time, is it just mainly the golden experience you're after it for, or does it actually provide more than that?
Well, the thing is, you have to, it puts the enemy team on edge, in my opinion, because you have to worry at any point in time, if you try to make an engagement into that mid lane, somebody could back and just secretly come through on that Portal Demon and then immediately be in your backline, and then there's not really much room for you left to do, and you kind of get pincered in that mid lane.
Well, pincered in the jungle is Cuvo Fred right now. The burst is insane, and this is what happens when you got a level 12 Ymir. I was just mentioning that, up against a level 11 jungle nemesis. The burst potential is fantastic. Cuvo now forced back to base. Variety on the rotation round as well. They're focusing on the oracles. Do you commit hard here as Dignitas?
I don't think that Dignitas really wants to commit unless they see that Gold Fury going underneath 50% health.
Well, Variety's used his ult already, as has a Final Judgment gone down. Variety avoids the freeze coming out from Dardes, who eats a lot of pokes there. He's forced to shell defensively. Dignitas quite happy with getting the shell out, it seems there. They don't want to commit any further forward because I guess they didn't really find any follow-up there.
Well, the issue is they also have to keep in mind that the Ice's ultimate is still available, and that's a lot of healing that could come through on the side of Elevate in a team fight scenario that could catch Dignitas off guard if they burn everything trying to secure a kill, and then the Ice's heal comes through. What are you left to do?
That's true, that's true. And now with that little win there for Elevate, it seems with all their ultimates still available, they rotate back towards the Gold Fury one more time, forcing Trix Tank back. And it's mainly for positioning more than anything else here. There's No Numbers now on zone duty. Gold Fury starting to get lower. Trix Tank on the way round, looking to burst, but there's the Isis ult, the Fear No Evil. Free Gold Fury the way of Elevate, and now they're looking to disengage, but No Numbers caught, full burst, and that's the potential Dignitas have with this composition.
That's exactly what they're looking for every single time. No Numbers Everest just put himself slightly out of position, and that's all that Dignitas really needed to go ahead and punish. And now they're just going to look to pressure that T1 tower immediately in mid lane, which is a really smart decision by them.
And that Glyph of Pain coming out as well is going to allow them to get some extra damage down onto this tower. Right in the back line, causing a distraction. Trickstank still has tower aggro right now. They're doing this without minions, so it's taking them a long time. Arkel still trying to swing for the houses now. Very good juggle of aggro from Dignitas to make sure they could take down this tower without taking too much damage overall on any given player. They answer back that Gold Fury with a kill and a tier 1 tower. How do we feel about that?
That's exactly what Elevate didn't want to happen. If the numbers hadn't been caught out of position there, that T1 in mid would have definitely still been standing. So that's incredibly unfortunate because Elevate, after they go for these big objective fights, if they drop that Isis ultimate to commit, that's a lot of team fight potential that they're losing as soon as they have to burst the Isis ultimate in order to secure objectives. And Dignitas recognize that. They're all a really strong roster, and they immediately punished Elevate for it.
You say Dignitas are a strong roster, but right now Elevate are really giving it to them right now. Like they've put on a good show, but this is classic Elevate to an extent. They do very well in the early stages. How could they carry this momentum now to the mid-late game? Because that's where they seem to fall off, Elevate. The small mistakes there really hurt them.
They really just need to play around their composition a little bit more, wait for Dardas to get a separation with the wall, and then they can look to all-in burst whoever's trapped on the wrong side of it. But for the most part, they do need to play it still a little bit careful. Even with the 4K gold lead, this definitely isn't their game in the slightest. I mean, you're looking at an early game draft versus a mid to late game composition.
Gotcha.
So you have to play it with safety at all times.
And that's not taking into account what players you're against here. Hold that thought. Variety under a bit of pressure here. He's forced to defensively use beads to get away. Still being pressured, forced to the sky, but a burst from Nulissa. He's so much stronger than expected now. No numbers, one to pieces, Zeros in the mid lane too. Zeros gets hit. No freeze coming out from Dardes there. No further follow-up available. But great play from Elevate again.
Again, Dardas on point with the walls, and you can see he's immediately engaging with the bot's ultimate.
Yeah, Fear No Evil already down onto Zeros, who's getting way out of position, being tossed and turned around. Toth's one hit from death. No numbers really wants it. The heal comes through at the right time. Nobody dies on the side of Dignitas, though, but the pressure in mid is most certainly the way of Elevate.
And they're going to answer right back with the T1 mid secure, and that's important, especially after what just happened after that Gold Fury fight. This is a really big swing, I think,
looking to
Elevate.
help defend, gets a good impale off onto Nulissa, but it's frozen in place straight away from Dardes. Arkel takes more than he bargained for there. Trickstank, oh no, he came back into a dwarf at the worst time. Luckily he's still alive. Finally, here comes Jermaine to turn up and turn the argument in favor of Elevate one more time, but it's not enough to bring a kill as Variety now comes in with the ultimate, forcing back Elevate one more time.
Yeah, no, that was a little bit risky as well on the side of Jermaine, because if any of them had decided to pop their beads and look to potentially turn that on him, but at the same time, so the Mesmerize is really coming in clutch. He burst out, he forced out the Aegis, and that's going to be really important because now Elevate can go ahead and look for another team fight and securing, and it looks like they're setting up around this Portal Demon.
It seems so too, yeah. Fails on the way back, no numbers ultimate available, so is Fails is on that Fear No Evil too. So they've got plenty of defensive options. They also recognize Variety's beads should be on cooldown still from the last little skirmish on the right-hand side here. Zeros with some nice damage over the wall to Dardes. Not a whole lot to write home about, but he does give warning shots because that was a tank after all that he was swinging at.
So you can see Elevate's actually choosing to disperse here. They don't really want to look for the fight with Dardas almost a 50% HP, and I think that's a safe play to go ahead and make. I mean, they have the initiation as long as he picks up a little bit of healing. They want to try and spread out Dignitas, let him fall back to the lanes, let them go and farm it out, and then potentially look for this Portal Demon.
Well, this start from Elevate is fantastic. Now you can see every single player has leads over their opposition in terms of gold and experience. Variety around the back, looking to pressure Fails into an awkward spot, but he'll somersault away. Zeros with more little damage over the wall, just looking to bring down Elevate a little bit if he can.
Yeah, Elevate really want to fight this, but at the same time, I think Dignitas just want to make sure that they're in the right position.
Fear No Evil, Arkel no beads this time. Sunshine and her is dead. The damage was split from Dignitas away from the tanks. Both the damage is down, and now it's just tanks remaining. Variety in the sky, though. May look to go aggressive onto Dardes. He can't stay there long, though, with no beads. Actually, tell a lie, he did have his beads up, but he didn't want to fully commit on to Dardes there to answer that one back. Jermaine dealing with the tanks for the time being, all the tankier options, I should say, but with no Noble showing presence with Nulissa, they're going to force Dignitas back for now.
They should just go ahead and secure that Portal Demon rather than waste any more time trying to poke around with Variety and Trix Tank. But it looks like you can see them in the back line. They're going ahead. You have Nalisa, Fails, Jermaine now onto that, and that's just going to fall down immediately.
It will fall down. Cubo Fred around the back, though. May look towards No Numbers here, who's been left alone. His team started falling back. Jermaine has turned up to support with just some auto attacks, which should detract Dignitas from continuing that aggression.
You see that little pop of health coming through with the Hercules on that shield of regrowth and everything. It's just so insane how much of a raid boss No Numbers is turning into. Yeah, that's actually, I didn't even consider the mobility coming through for the Nemesis ultimate as well. That's actually probably going to come in really importantly for No Numbers to go ahead and try and escape, because he's probably prime target number 1 next to Dardas with the composition that Team Dignitas has.
And one thing that Nemesis always struggles against is Wing Blades as well. Wing Blade now been picked up by the Hercules. You can see 3 of them actually on the side of Elevate. They have really drafted and done their itemization very well this game as well, Taco. You can clearly tell that they plan that Nemesis is going to be an issue, so removing those slows, giving themselves the mobility is going to be very impactful.
And it's important too when they went ahead and picked up those Wing Blades, because they didn't pick them up immediately, or other than Dardas. Dardas went ahead and built his like second, but the rest of them were picking it up like 3rd, 4th item, which is really important because Nemesis isn't really that much of a threat at like levels 5 through 9. I mean, she has some kill potential, but with the rest of the draft that Dignitas has, it was smart by Elevate to recognize they weren't going to have a ton of early damage coming through for them. This is mostly a mid to late game conversation like we talked about. So picking up the Wing Blade, 3rd, 4th item, definitely leaves you enough room to just go ahead and have a little bit more fun and like variability in your items.
Well, Dance of the Fire Giant has begun now, and this is a classic thing that you see a little bit earlier than we've seen in the previous season, Sacco, about 22 minutes in, but this is kind of the tale of where the game is. The average game length around 30 minutes here, so it kind of forces these situations a lot.
And you see Cubo Fred immediately in trouble from that wall.
Yeah, that wall's going to slow him down again, but Boulder over the wall does hit Cubo. That will force Cubo back to base now. The Meditate was already used by Trix Tank, so he can't stay in the fight. Elevate did use one ultimate for that, but taking Cubo out and one more wall from Dardas could cause some problems.
Elevate really want to go ahead and get a pick early on, because as soon as, and I think Dignitas can recognize that as well, if Elevate picks anybody, that's a free Fire Giant, and no questions asked.
And wall into freeze equals immediate beads out of these teams too. So now Cubo Fred going to have to sit a little bit further back in these engagements now, because he will be the focus of a Fear No Evil over the wall from Fails. He's going out to Cubo Fred. It wasn't the perfect decision overall. Variety hanging in the sky goes on Jermaine, forcing the beads out of him. Fails jumps in to help him out too. Variety forced back as well. The wall will deny access from Dignitas. Trix forced to ult. Variety takes exit stage left instead. Joins up with Cubo Fred. Nice little skirmish from both teams there.
That's the second time too that Dardas has cut somebody off with a wall in that little gap between the blue buff and the T2 tower entryway.
Being focused a little bit here. He's forced to leap out. Cubo Fred with a very early ultimate onto Jermaine there as Variety came into Arkill Zero's position at the backside. These CC chains onto the likes of Variety and Trixtank are causing them so many problems here for Dignitas. Elevate are running riot right now.
You can see right now, Elevate really have no questions asked. And there's the pick that's coming through immediately. Arkill is going to fall down as well. And you can see they're definitely giving chase. They are going to take this, probably to take the tower as well as the Fire Giant.
Well, they've not got minions with them here, but they've got to juggle aggro well. Fails gets aggro there. I don't think he really wants it. Nulissa's taking a lot of damage over the wall from Zeros, though. That's the problem playing against the Toth. If you want to seize this up, you've got to do it at range. Otherwise, he'll still be able to poke you.
Yeah, you can see Elevate they kept baiting it out, and Dignitas just kept trying to overstep, kept trying to check on that Fire Giant, and you know, there's only so many times your actives are going to be up, and Elevate, they recognized it. Dardas has been on point with these walls the entire game, and the CC chain that's coming through with the Isis Spirit Balls and the freezes, it just became too much to handle, I think, for Dignitas.
Well, it could be an awkward position now, because we saw the Fire Giant dance that turned into, in the end, an engagement that got him a tier 2 tower, but this time around again, Elevate now going to have to hard reset the Fire Giant one more time, especially with the Portal Demon due up very soon as well. I'm expecting the same sort of dance here.
But at the same time, Elevate, that gold swing that they got from the T2 tower secure and winning that team fight is going to be really important. Yeah. I think that they would prefer to back anyway, to go ahead, you know, buy up your items and then make the next engagement even easier and even harder for Team Dignitas to fight into, because their actives aren't necessarily going to all immediately be up. You'll have to worry about a couple of ultimates, but at the same time, Dignitas have to worry about Elevate's ultimates as well.
That's true. And with Elevate having this experience lead too, these fights are actually stopping Dignitas from continuing to farm up to catch them up a little bit. So you can see the level disparities at 12,000 experience now overall and 10k gold. Is this insurmountable at this point, Taco, or are we still okay?
I wouldn't say that it's insurmountable, because you never know if a Nemesis ultimate could just catch somebody off guard and then they just snowball the fight out of control in that instance. But at the same time, it's really difficult because a lot of the damage that's coming out for Dignitas, they're relying on the Honor and the Thoth, and neither of those characters is really getting a chance to free cast like the side of Elevate's carries are.
Well, that freeze didn't really find a home from Dodez that time. New Lissa and Zeros straight off, and Zeros eats more than he bargained for because Fails was on point with the engagement over the wall. The border from no numbers to the back line. Jermaine in the sky, going to crash down onto Arkill as well. Pick him up. Trix Tank tries to ult to help out his teammate, but it's not going to be enough. Trix forced out as well, but still Jermaine giving chase, looking for the kill under the tower. Has a fatality to continue the chase down. Still has aggro though, which is somebody he won't really like. Jermaine with the double kill off that, and instead of the fire giant, once again Elevate going to collapse for a tier 2 tower.
And it looks like they're probably going to be pressuring the Phoenix here immediately afterwards, which is a really smart decision because you might as well take a free Phoenix. They can go ahead and pressure the fire giant after they secure this, and it's just so many little bursts and hits onto the side of Dignitas. They're really not paying as much attention as I think they should be.
Well, hold that thought. You think that, but they're going to go for a second one. Kivo gets knocked up. 2 beads down from no numbers. Earthbreakers twice in a row. Variety has no beads this time round. The wall drop behind his head. The rat running for his life. No numbers wants to kill. Won't find the Earthbreaker. The rest of his team focused intently on the Phoenix. 2 Phoenixes down there, Taco.
2 Phoenixes is going to make things really rough for the side of Dignitas. And you can see the rat element's not enough to go ahead and catch them up. They might be able to even turn this.
Variety already down to half health after a nice bit of poke out of Elevate, and the wall from Dardez will be like, you know what? We're bored of you chasing us for now. We're just going to back away, but they're not really backing away at all. They hung around. Jermaine on low health. Fear no evil over the wall onto Arkill. Fails, goes in, eats more than he bargained for. Trix Tank out, but Variety's in the back line on Jermaine right now. Jermaine forced out from the dashes. Zeros picks up Dardez, thanks to the help of Arkill too. Dig want to keep on fighting this. Elevate, they chose to hang around here, and Elevate, they're going to get punished for this. Nulis is the next to drop as they abandon all hope. Elevate, this could be a fire giant chance potentially. Is it, or is it just a portal demon?
I think Dignitas need to go ahead, secure this portal demon as fast as possible, immediately jump back to that fire giant and go ahead and try and pick it up, because that's going to be their only saving grace. Elevate overstayed. They should have just backed off and disengaged a lot harder than what they were. They were getting a little bit greedy because Fails had his ultimate up. You could see when they set up in the jungle and they were waiting for it, but there just wasn't enough follow-up on top of it because they'd already used so much to win the fights and secure the Phoenixes.
The fire giant now started up here by Team Dignitas. Only 3 members of Elevate here, but they've got a lot of damage for themselves. They're looking at Kivo Fred right now. Variety's there to support. Great knock-up from him to force back Elevate one more time, but it has pulled Dignitas off that fire giant.
That's really all that Elevate needed, was to keep buying time for themselves. You can see Nulisa's got 10 seconds on the clock.
Boulder! Oh, the wall comes into play, but Kivo's going to shield it. Jermaine, though, still going to clean that up. Fails, gets a monkey toss onto Arkill on the backline too. Jermaine to the sky, looking for the double potentially here as well. Won't find it with the ultimate, but he will find it. No, he won't find it with the So Beautiful either. No numbers. Ends up cleaning that up as well. Elevate back in this.
Yeah, you can see that Jermaine was probably just slightly out of range there on the So Beautiful onto the On Her Secure, but it doesn't matter. They went ahead, they picked up 2, and Dignitas immediately after what looked like could have been such a good saving grace for them, and they're just falling right back to that hole that they were already in.
Well, Variety around the corner, frozen in place by the Isis Spirit Ball there as well. Great uppercut again from no numbers, and I think that's the biggest talking point here. Not just the walls from Ymir, but the way Hercules has played this game. These Earthbreakers have really made an impact.
Oh yeah, the Earthbreakers, the freezes, the walls, just so much synchronization coming out on the side of Elevate. They are just keeping these characters pinned down so hard with their CC chains, and what are you meant to do? There's only so many times that you can cleanse. There's only so many times that a Fafnir can ult and get away.
Can they end this here right now, Taco?
It's looking like a game.
It looks like it may be. They're going to try and burst this one down. Finn and Weevil comes into play as well. Arkill drops, and Dignitas, they take a loss to Elevate here as well. Elevate, one of the only